And so we also want to look for God to direct our path. So the 12 disciples, they got training with Jesus for 3 years, and then they became apostles. But Paul didn't have the same luxury. Paul didn't get training with Jesus for 3 years. Paul met him on the road one day, and that was it. And so Paul, and a lot of times we think of Paul maybe as the greatest apostle, but in actually preparing this lesson, I learned some interesting things about Paul. And so the other disciples, they got trained before. And if you think about it, so here's a question. How did Peter know that the Gentiles were going to be part of the salvation? Because initially, everyone thought salvation was just for the Jews. How did Peter know that salvation would also be for the Gentiles?
Wasn't that through a vision?
Yes.
Wasn't he up on the rooftop and had the vision?
Yes. Yes. He had a vision of various meats falling from a sheet, and God said, "Rise, Peter, slay and eat." And it let him know that all, whatever God calls clean, don't call unclean. So Peter got a vision from God to let him know that the Gentiles were part of salvation. But Peter went and kept talking to the Jews. But Paul is known as the apostle to the Gentiles. So how did Paul realize that he was going to be the apostle to the Gentiles? So it wasn't like he didn't get a big vision. He didn't get a big vision. He didn't get a big light coming on. You are going to be the apostle to the Gentiles. He tried something. He had a plan. He was teaching in the temple every week, and it didn't work out. So he said, okay, let me go to plan B. So sometimes you'll get clear direction, but sometimes you'll just get led there. You'll try something and maybe it didn't work, or you go one way and so Paul, he just got directions as he went. Paul changed directions as he went. And we see that in another case. Tasha, you have Acts 16, 6 through 7. So we saw first. So Paul here, Paul had a plan. They were going to go, so this is Luke talking. They were going to go to Asia. So their plan was to go to Asia. That was the plan. That was what they decided. We're going to go preach the gospel in Asia. But it says in verse 6 that the Holy Spirit forbid them from going there. So they said, okay, we won't do that. So after that, they came to Mysia, and they tried to go to Bithynia. But then it says the Spirit of Jesus didn't permit them to go there. So Paul, it wasn't like Jesus said, go here, or God clearly gave him a vision. They tried to go there, and the Holy Spirit didn't let them go. They said, okay, maybe not there. They tried to go to this other place, and the Spirit of Jesus said, don't go there. So then they went to Trails. They were going to go teach there. So this is it, Trails. And then Paul has a vision now, and the vision says, go to Macedonia. So, and then Luke says, well, they concluded that God called them to preach in the gospel in Macedonia. So it's not always that you're going to get a clear direction. So Paul was going, he tried something, and it's kind of like, your GPS recalculating. So he knows his mission. He needs to spread the gospel. He says, okay, let me go this way. And then the GPS says recalculating. The Holy Spirit sends him here. He tried, okay, let me turn down this street, recalculating. So sometimes you're gonna go in a direction, and we have to listen for God. We have to be attentive to God changing our plan, to the Holy Spirit changing our plan, and so we have to listen. And so eventually Paul got clear direction in a dream to go to Macedonia, but he tried a few other places, and the Spirit didn't let him. And so you want to listen and be attentive to God's direction. So God may direct your path. You may not have a clear direction of where the path to go, so you want to be attentive at each step of the way. So if you get distracted from the master, that can draw you away from the calling. So the enemy would rather you have your eyes on work, have your eyes on the government, have your eyes on the tragedies in the world, have your eyes on riots, have your eyes on police brutality, have your eyes on Trump, have your eyes on the toilet tissue, or even have your eyes on a ministry, or even have eyes on an area of service, instead of having your eyes on God. So we want to have our eyes on God. So Paul was following God. Paul had his eyes on God. Paul thought he was following God. Paul thought he was on the right path. He was following God. And then he met Jesus. and found out he was on the complete wrong path. He was going in the complete wrong direction because he didn't have the Holy Spirit yet. He was out there chasing, trying to kill Christians. And once he met Jesus, he realized he was going in the complete wrong direction. He thought he was following God, but he was on the wrong path. So our relationship with Jesus allows us to have a relationship with God. Our relationship with Jesus allows us to have a relationship with the caller. So when we find the head, when we find God, when we find the head, everything else falls into place. When you find the head, you find your place in the body. So you want to look for God, and he will show you your calling. Look for God, and he'll show you your calling. God's original calling for man, God's original plan for Adam was for him to commune with God, for him to be in relationship with others, for him to work, and for him to have dominion over the earth. But it all fell apart when Adam sinned, when man sinned. When man sinned, the relationship, the communing with God fell apart. So only with restoring your fellowship with God through Jesus is the only way you can find your purpose. You can get back in alignment, to get back into your calling. So it's the only way to find your purpose. It's the only way that you can find your calling, is to find God. And so there's a verse of a song I just saw that says, when I doubt it, Lord, remind me, I'm wonderfully made. You're an artist, I'm the potter. I'm the canvas and the clay. You make all things work together for my future and my good. You make all things work together for your glory, for your name. I know nothing has been wasted, no failure or mistake. You're an artist and a potter. I'm the canvas and the clay. You're not finished with me yet.